Welcome to the Ready for Real Estate podcast. Hey there, real estate pros. Whether you're buying, selling, investing, or managing properties, this podcast is all about giving you the keys to success in today's market. I'm Matt Grace, realtor with Keller Williams, investor, and your guide to making smart, confident moves in real estate. And I'm not doing it alone. Join me and my co-host, Big Mike, from BMG Exteriors, bringing you expert advice on home maintenance, repairs, and how to protect your biggest investment. Plus, behind the scenes, we got our producer, Ben, from BroPack, making sure every episode is packed with value. Here's the deal. Opportunity doesn't wait. When the perfect home, prime investment, or even big deal comes knocking, will you be ready to answer? That's exactly what this podcast is about. Arming you with the insights, expert advice, industry secrets, so you can take action with confidence. Learn how to secure financing and avoid costly mistakes. Selling? Get top strategies to maximize your home value and sell fast. Investing? Discover market trends, rental property tips, and wealth building strategies. Managing properties? Stay ahead with maintenance hacks, legal must-knows, and pro strategies. And you won't hear it from us. We have amazing guests. Mortgage pro Eddie Karpinski breaking down the latest interest rates and financing strategies. Credit specialist Tyra Jacqueline giving you inside scoop on building and repairing credit. Master electrician Joe Kiss with expert advice on home upgrades and energy efficiency. Elder lawyer Scott Bloom sharing must-know estate planning tips for homeowners and investors, and much, much more. The best real estate deals go to those who are prepared, and we are here to make sure you are ready for real estate. Subscribe now at readynewswithaz.beehive.com and follow us on social media, our newsletter packed with expert insights, market updates, and exclusive real estate tips. All right, let's dive in, because when opportunity knocks, you'll be ready to open the door. All right, folks, how we doing? It's Matt from Ready for Real Estate. I'm your host, and we got a full crew today with us. We have Lauren P.O. from our real estate side. How are you, Lauren?
Hey, Matt, I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on. We got Big Mike here in the house. How you doing, Mike? And then behind the screen, we got Ben, the producer. How are you today, Ben?
I'm good. I'm excited for today's episode.
Yeah, so am I. So without further ado, we have today from ECI, the owner and founder, Ron. How are you, Ron? Thanks for coming on.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So I know you're busy. It's that time of year. Everyone's trying to get ready for the fall season, coming out of the summer season. So love to have you on with our panel here, our guests, and how you would get people ready for real estate. So just to jump in, Ron, how'd you come about ECI Comfort, how to get started, and why has it been around so long in the Philly market? I see your trucks everywhere, so
Awesome.
Which is a great thing. So.
Love to hear that.
Yep.
That's by design anyway.
Yep.
Glad to hear it's paying off. My brother John and I started in 1992. We worked for our father for growing up. He was a serial entrepreneur, but in our later teens, he bought a home heating oil company and drug us into it. And we worked for him for a while. I went off, started a company very early age, sold it, and then went back in with the family, and I didn't get along too well. My brother and I, we realized that most of the people out there just wanted to replace their heaters, didn't want to do much, and a lot of people in the Philadelphia market didn't have air conditioning. They had old coal converted oil heat systems or gas, and not a lot of central air. And my brother and I thought we could do something and help people out. We realized that there was a niche, a small niche at the time that has since grown, of people that want to have a good system, want to be comfortable, want to be efficient, and wanted to get central air in their old homes. And ECI stands for Energy Concepts Inc., and that's kind of where the Energy Concepts comes from.
Great. How long you been in business, Ron?
30 plus years, 1992. We kind of started in 1990-ish and then incorporated in 92.
Okay. Yeah, I'm from the Northeast, so I've seen plenty of those systems go in. I remember growing up, not many, everybody had the window units.
Yes.
And it was all cramped into the one room trying to get cool. Now the whole house is below freezing, so that's pretty cool.
Exactly.
Nothing like Philly summer without the AC.
Yes, very humid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it takes a few days to get used to it. So
Definitely.
walking around and breathing that soup in. So that's cool. What's the most common HVAC mistakes homeowners make when buying or upgrading a property?
There's a couple there. If you're talking investors, there's one that I see, mistakes, and then homeowners, especially younger homeowners, they don't realize what goes into an HVAC system and what comfort is and what efficiency is. They look for most of us, we're all guilty of it. Look for the pretty cabinets and the marble countertops and whatnot. And a lot of times the mechanical system gets neglected, and they get into a house and they're uncomfortable. And in the Philly market, which kind of leads into the bigger things, we're obviously an older city, and our history is back in the day when mechanical systems and central heating became a thing, and electricity. Philadelphia is one of the richest cities in the country, if not the world. Like going back to the Titanic, most of the people that passed on the Titanic, especially the wealthy people, were from Philadelphia. And the houses were at the central part of the new wave of central heating and steam heat and hydronic heat and how systems work. And then over the years, those really brilliant people that were being paid by the smart people back then to put in heating and central heating in their house, they passed away, and they didn't transfer that knowledge. And in Philadelphia, especially, the next generation and then the generation after that and the generation after that just messed up a lot of the heating system. And people just think, oh, I got to live with this. I have this beautiful hydronic heating system that was phenomenal, but they have hot and cold rooms. The third floor is blistering hot, and the other room is not. And it can be fixed if you take it back to the original design of a coal-fired gravity feed system. Was a lower temperature, constant flow. It's just one of the things that you see a lot in Philadelphia. And if you're from the Northeast, a lot of the houses were like far Northeast that had ductwork, but they didn't have central air. They were designed for heat only, and they didn't think or imagine people were going to be putting central air. And they were designed to reduce the amount of heat that went up. They didn't want heat going up to the second floor. It would just naturally rise, and they would restrict the ductwork going up there. Then you put air conditioning in that house, and it's the opposite need. And then the next generation, again, then the next, let's put in a bigger system. Let's put in a bigger system, a more powerful blower. And they're just forcing against that restriction. If there's a problem, the system is telling you, it's speaking to you, and it needs to be fixed, then oversizing or changing without answers is not the right option. And in Philadelphia, in 40 plus years of doing it, I just see a lot of systems out there that over the generations have gotten worse and worse and worse.
Okay. So what you brought up a term, hydronic system,
Yeah.
did you? Can you explain that a little bit more? What that means when you say that?
Hot water, radiators, baseboard, hydronic, anything to do with water. And then you have hot air with ductwork.
Okay.
Um, and a lot of pockets of Philadelphia had some beautiful homes with beautiful radiators, and they're big radiators, and they were designed for coal systems that when it's mild out, you put a little coal fire in, and it's a low fire and it's gravity feed,
Yeah.
low temperature. And as it gets colder and you need more, you add more coals and you get a bigger fire and it gets a hotter temperature. And that would balance
Wow.
those radiators out. Now, the next generation came in and said, we're just going to put a one size system in,
Yep.
120,000 BTU boiler, 180 degrees all times, and then use a circulator to force that water through. And now those radiators that were designed for the other system don't work correctly. And you get hot, you're sweating by the one radiator because it's 45 degrees out and it's 180. It was only designed to be 110, so
Yeah.
I'm geeking out. I'm sorry, I'm geeking out.
No, that's great. I know Lauren grew up in houses that were like that, and
Yep.
she can speak of that. I'm just in Northeast Philly,
Absolutely.
yeah, forced air with the little gas heater in the corner of the basement. So that made that
Oh, yeah.
corner like 200 degrees, but gas fed. But I know my wife who had it always believes by it because it actually the medicinal value of keeping your passages open, allowing you to breathe that warm compressed heat is really good for you.
But at the same time, it's kind of like living in a hot tub because once those
Yeah.
radiators get going, holy cow, they can throw some heat. They will keep you warm.
Yes, and it's nice on a really cold day,
Mm-hmm.
but on a mild day, they were only designed to have maybe 120 degree temperature going through there slowly. Now you got 180 degrees being force fed with a circulator, and it gets really hot and uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully the windows in that old house work too, so you can at least crack them and get some kind of reprieve.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's another issue. Like they were designed for old leaky windows.
Mm-hmm.
People come in and replace the windows, and you don't have that leakage, and those radiators are oversized.
Yeah, you know what? You bring up a really good point. How the new energy efficiency kind of really bumps up that heat and really kind of traps it in. It's really there's a meaning between those old drafty houses that I believe houses need to breathe. That the air circulates through naturally, and
And most heaters and air conditioners that we come across are grossly oversized. You take a row home in Philly,
yeah,
like you can have 4 different sizes of row home, and I'll go into a little miniature. It could be like a Trinity, right? And
yeah,
it's $300 a month for the gas. You can heat them with a candle,
uh-huh.
right? The heating bill comes from what they call standby loss. The system comes on.
Yeah.
They got an 80,000 BTU boiler, and again, you could heat it with a 10,000 BTUs, if not less. It comes on, heats up real quick, and shuts off, and then that excess heat goes out the chimney or in the basement.
Yeah.
Then it comes on again, and it does that, and you only use 10,000 BTUs in a whole day, but you produced, say that thing cycled on 4 times, you used 400,000 BTUs, and that's your cost. You're not getting it. And you got a big row home with the same boiler in there, sometimes, and it's just most of it is standby loss. It's wasted. It never gets delivered. You never use it, and that's a common thing that I see.
Question for you, Ron, based on that, because I know not all of us live in Trinities in the city, and we can heat the house with a tea light.
Right.
So for the rest of us around the city, what energy upgrades do you find actually increase one's property value in addition to just ensuring that there's comfort? Like, what are some upgrades that investors or landlords might be able to make or maybe some of these first-time homeowners, if they're looking for a property that needs a little bit of love, what kind of upgrades can we do that really aren't going to break the bank?
I don't want to deflect on that because I could talk about that all day, and we could do 5 houses on one street and do 5 different things because people have different lifestyles, different budgets, different issues. They live in a house differently, and we try to really look at each house independently. But I'll try to talk in general terms. Investors, right? One thing I've learned in property and real estate investors from really good clients is, you have these guys that are investing for the long term, and they realize that if a tenant is comfortable, they're going to have less to gripe about. And if they're not spending money on utilities, that's a bigger pie that they can spend money on their rent. But more importantly, they stay in the house much longer because their utilities are reasonable and they're comfortable. Why move, right? Mm-hmm. I see people that look at the short term and don't give a, about the tenant's comfort or utility bills. Like, hey man, just put a heater in. I don't care what it is. I need to tell the city that I've met the minimum requirement. If I could go without heat, I'd let them have no heat. And then their tenant leaves and they got occupancy issues. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it doesn't have to spend a lot of money, but have this system, spend a little more money, get a slightly better system, have it installed properly, and look for some of those issues to fix so a tenant is very comfortable. I've seen some of these investment properties, they sheetrock over an outlet, and now the system's not cooling or heating correctly, or they go, oh, I'm just going to cut this piece of pipe off and I don't need it. Well, the whole system was balanced by that pipe, so spend a little bit more money and your tenant will stay around. You have less occupancy issues, and your tenant might have a little more money available to pay the next time you want to increase rents.
Makes sense.
Oh, Mike's back.
That's a big one.
Yeah. That's awesome. Anything else, Lauren? You want to keep on going?
Yeah, sure. So keeping in that same vein of everybody saving a little bit of money, especially from the landlord perspective, are there any kind of like tax credits or rebates available in Pennsylvania for any HVAC updates?
Pennsylvania is not great in that aspect, but
we're cold states.
Yeah, like Massachusetts, you can get like $10,000 in rebates and incentives, but you're also paying more for utilities and you're paying higher taxes. So you're getting one place or another. The best thing that I see is people that, if you invest, that you're going to get better tax breaks for your income, as an expense right off. But there's not a lot of rebates. The federal tax credits don't apply, to my knowledge, for most of them for investors. It's supposedly owner occupied. But if you do the property correctly, investment, what you put in, you'll get out, and you can deduct it from your profits. That's the best way to look at it, I find. Cry once, invest in the right thing, and then you pay a little more upfront for the right install, and you'll have a much longer life span of the system and happier tenants.
What do you think about rebates and tax credits for owner occupants?
Great question. Again, Philly and Pennsylvania is not awesome, but the federal tax credits, they're putting out there that they're going away, just like the EV tax credits for Tesla and things first year. But now there's some new information coming out that they actually have to extend it at least another year. But it's debatable. So if anyone's thinking about it, the previous administration, whatever your politics are, they want to move people to electrification and heat pumps and get away from fossil fuels. They don't want gas stoves in your house, and they don't want gas furnaces, or they definitely don't want oil. So they created the federal tax credit. I forget what the form is for that, 25 something. But so what's not, anyone who buys a system, your homeowners that buy a system, because of the federal tax credit, they should get a heat pump, whether you want it or not. It's pretty much covering the additional costs. Now you have a secondary system, and you might not even have to use the gas system, even at 20-degree temperature if you buy a cold weather heat pump. And the federal government's paying for it. So that is a nice option. I recommend everybody. And I was against heat pumps 20, 30, 40 years ago. They didn't work that great. And, there was a lot of downside to it, and they were very expensive, especially as a standalone heat pump, as your sole source. But nowadays they've come a long way. It's like looking at a modern LED TV versus the old, TVs our dads had, with the tube, 1,000 pounds, and now you can pick them up with one hand. It's completely different.
That is great information. We'll be putting that on our newsletter for that. We'll do the research on that. So this next question is actually for both Mike and you, Ron, since you guys kind of run in the same circle. So, Ron, can you explain how the HVAC system makes it confident, the performance, how it ties into home inspections, and for Mike, how the roof actually plays into the home inspection for the HVAC units? So, Ron, I'll let you go first. So basically,
well, I've been doing all the talking. I was looking forward to Mike sharing.
Yes, Mike can go first here. So
we always follow HVAC. It's been my whole life. They're always the
You should. As you should.
So Matt, I think your question to me was how does my roofing tie into the HVAC on the inspection?
Yeah.
And so that would just be any kind of penetration they have coming through their roof and the seals on that to make sure that they were intact and nothing had leaks coming through on my end for a report. So it's pretty simple on my end, just their penetrations.
That helps out the buyer confidence during the inspection process. So do you do a lot of roofing inspections involved with this?
We do. Yeah, we get calls all the time. And as we were talking last week about trying to circumvent some of those inspections to get some of the reports off, so the red flags off the report that don't need to be on there. That's what we're trying to do now, get up on the roof, check out the penetrations, check out their flashings, gutters, downspouts, and give a more detailed professional roofing report to a buyer, a seller, an agent, or even the home inspector themselves, to circumvent, like I said, all the things that pop up there that might scare a buyer or seller away.
Right, exactly. And I know Lauren being a realtor, and I've had some deals go south on my end from the home inspector, who's really does it all but master of none. He put on a report that there was a hole there, and there wasn't, and the buyer backed away, and so it killed the deal. It actually killed two more deals down the pipeline, but that's from just having a normal inspector, not a roofer on there. So you actually offer that for free, correct, Mike?
Yeah. Yep, we do.
Okay.
We want to get we want to get to the buyer and seller and let them know that we're their trusted roofer and give an honest opinion of what's going on with their roof, either before they buy it or what they need to do to sell it.
Okay. And then, Ron, just going back to you on this one, on the HVAC system, what do you do to provide confidence in the buyer during the home inspection process?
Well, I think to piggyback on what Mike said, it's absolutely true. Like our world keeps evolving, and I never thought we'd be there, but I highly recommend having a HVAC company do an inspection before the seller gets to that point, because when you have that third party, the buyer hires their own inspector and they throw up all these red flags. Some of them are real, some of them are minor, but if you can fix them ahead of time to avoid it, I know like some of the things like, hey, we'll just put the house up for sale, go ahead and we'll deal with the whatever comes up through inspection and we'll deal with it then. But I think nowadays a lot of buyers are bolting. I've heard multiple stories. So at least if you get the inspection ahead of time, you have the choice, like fix this, make it go away before the inspector even sees it. And you were saying 2 deals down the line, because now you have to disclose that was found from the original. So you can't just fix it and forget about it. But if you fix it now, it's a much less of an issue. And I think the buyer's confidence that you as a seller are doing the right thing helps out too.
So true.
I think from the seller's perspective as well, it could be really helpful to understand where some of these pitfalls are and get ahead of some of these conversations and some pushback you may get from buyers. And it also helps them prepare. I mean, whether you fix it now or not, you're going in educated, knowing that you have a concession in your back pocket should you need it, that we're aware we can make these repairs, and they can always give your name, your number to the new owners if it's something that they want to get fixed.
I see it all the time. I get a call from a realtor like, oh my God, we're having a closing. Can you come out and do the inspection or whatever? And then you come out and like, oh, you got a cracked heat exchanger, and like.
And who takes care of it?
Yeah. Like, or, like now it's stress and you got, you might make a bad decision and, you can't get other quotes. You can't, knowing that well ahead and having that inspection gives a seller so much more opportunity to get in front of it and make educated decisions than and panic and stress and everyone's going crazy and needs to be done or blah, 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 it's hectic.
Yeah.
Now, I know some home professionals will charge for an inspection like that. Some won't. Is there a price range that buyers or sellers could expect an inspection like that to fall in?
Yeah, we have like free second opinions. If there's something that somebody said there's a problem, we'll give a free second opinion from $49.95. When we do a full inspection, you got to write a letter and it's got to go to the township. That's more money, but if it's just to get an assessment of what could be an issue ahead of time, that's one thing. And we've had, buyers call us up, and I highly recommend buyers getting their independent, like you said, a jack of all trades, master of none home inspector. And I think they're great. But when it comes to a roof or it comes to electrical or HVAC, especially if you have an older HVAC system, have an HVAC company that you trust go look at it. And a lot of times, especially if you have a relationship and trust, they'll do it for free. And now you really have true insight on what's going on. An inspector doesn't have the instruments that we have. Our technicians carry thousands of dollars worth of instruments to test the system, for static pressure, for gas leaks, for this, that, and the other thing. So, and a general home inspector is not going to have that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always like to remind buyers with a home inspection, like we can't open walls.
Yeah.
We can't look behind walls, but it sounds like you guys have kind of that. I'm picturing like a magic HVAC, like stethoscope that you can stick up against the system and kind of get a good sense of the health of it and a little bit of a better read. It's
like getting a CAT scan nowadays, the equipment they have. It's amazing where we've advanced as a industry. And, houses used to be $30,000 and now they're, $1 million, right?
Right.
Down in Northern Liberties, I remember working on those houses when they were $15,000. I go back 40 years later and they're $1 million. It's a different game.
That was a fun transition in that neighborhood. That was that was an interesting one for sure.
Yes. So it's completely different.
So
get the inspection.
So using your experience and your tools, what are the signs that a system needs replacement? What do you guys look for? I mean, what are the telltale signs other than blowing hot air, or when it's hot out, and blowing cool air when it's cool out? So
without blowing hot air for us,
right? Yeah.
Well, that goes back to the inspection, right? What we do now is we test all the equipment, all the pieces and components. We have equipment for that. Like, how many amps is this motor drawing? Again, going back 10, 20 years ago, a motor on a furnace, to replace it could have been $100. We have some motors now with advanced variable speed motors are $2,000 to our cost, right? You can test that motor out and see if it's running within specs, if it's drawing extra amps. So we test everything. You test for the heat exchangers not cracked. You're not getting CO in the house. And we'll give you a report. And it's very simple. All the components, all the main order, just like a health report. And you're either in green, yellow, or red, and you know what to do. And if you have the cost to repair, cost to rebuild it, or cost to replace, and then it becomes a personal decision where you're at in your life and what your budget is. And, we just try to give people an honest breakdown of what the condition is and what it would take. If it's all green, great. If there's some yellow in there, you might want to get ahead of it and replace it now, pre-season, or before they become a problem and break down. If you got a lot of red, and that red's expensive and it gets close to replacement and it's over 12 years old, then maybe, consider replacing. But our job is to give all that, give real good data to customers so they can make an informed decision. That's our job. We don't make those decisions for the homeowner. It's just to give them the facts.
With some of the technology, you touched on this a little bit, with technology changing in the HVAC industry, what do you think of thermostats and smart thermostats, zoning systems? Are they worth it? Some better than others? What's your feel on this new tech?
It depends. It really does depend. It depends on the homeowner. It depends on the home, how they live in it. Are they there set patterns of time? Does their schedules vary greatly? How are they with technology? I love zoning, right? If we could build every system, every house that was like a light switch on a room with a dimmer, and you could adjust every room to the temperature and the amount of light you want at any given time, and you're not in it, the light's out. That would be the ideal, but not all systems that, you said, like, you can't get behind the walls. A lot of stuff's behind walls and you can't get to it. So how easily can you adapt it? And what's the cost? What's the return on investment? All those have to weigh into it. We go into some houses that I'll tell somebody, hey, your system's completely shot. Your ductwork needs to be replaced. It'd be crazy to replace this without zoning. And other people call us out and say, I want zoning. I'm like, it would be insane to zone this house. It's too small. You can't get to the ductwork. You're never going to get a return on your investment. And, and then thermostats, right? Some people, they say they want the thermostat and they won't even use half the functions on their phone, like, and they never touch it, right? There's, so it's you got to have the right fit for the right house and the right person.
And it sounds like that's where you guys come in to be able to make some of those recommendations as well, right?
Yeah, I think that is one thing that I take pride in, that everyone at ECI, we really try not to have one answer for every home. Philadelphia has so many different homes, so many different styles, so many different people, and having one answer for all them is just crazy. You got to listen to people. You got to ask good questions. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of people, again, I've gone into houses and they're like, I've been told, that I should get a smart thermostat. And then you talk to them like, you'll hate it. If you want it, we'll put it in, but we'll come back and take it out at no cost for you, but you're probably going to hate it. And then they almost always hate it and never use it. So many people have smart thermostats and just don't use them. I mean, how many people do you know that don't use them?
Okay,
I don't.
I think I know that has one.
And then you got, going back to what Matt was saying, the leaky house, you got this old Philadelphia house with leaky windows, leaky things, and the humidity of Philadelphia, right? And Pico and all these people say, put the smart thermostat and turn the temperature back, right? During the day when you're not there. Then you come home, the house is full of humidity, and now the system's got to work twice as hard. If it's August, dog days, just and prove it. Just set it and forget it. You know, it's all about the humidity in a lot of these older homes, stone homes, and bouncing the temperature up and down isn't going to work in that. Maybe in an ideal setting, an apartment where you got, you know, neighbors around you, even some row homes maybe, you know, but yeah, you got to be the right person in the right situation. They're great when they work and you use them, but they're not a one size fits all solution.
Makes sense. Now, speaking of people, so and Philadelphia, I'm a Philly girl at heart. Always have been, always will be.
Where are you from? What neighborhood?
What? So I grew up in Bucks County, but family
Okay.
down in Kensington.
Okay.
I have property in Harrogate. I've worked all over the city. It's always been near and dear. Spent a ton of time in Fishtown and No Libs as they were gentrifying and transitioning, however long ago that was now. Oh my God. But I love the people in Philly. I love the houses in Philly. And these are some of my favorite conversations. What do you find unique about working on homes in the Philly area? And do you have any, let's call it, memorable service stories about any, I don't want to say about any customers or any clients. I don't want to put anybody on blast, but anything that stands out about working in the Philly market?
That's 40 years of stories. Trying to filter that out on the fly. I can't come up with any gems off the top, but in the last 10 years, I've gone around the country and visited other HVAC places, and, you know, Atlanta and Dallas and and they all have similar houses, and they have almost every HVAC system was put in the same way, in the same character. And it's like Ford, when they built the car, you could have, you know, Model T, you can have any color you want as long as it's black.
Yep.
But Philadelphia is not that way. Philly's a different animal. We have different things when we like what we like. And, you know, and I alluded to it before, you know, you have different neighborhoods, right? Philadelphia is a city of neighborhoods. And what you see in Mount Airy might be similar to Chestnut Hill, but it's different. And then, you know, Germantown, right? Germantown at the turn of the century was like an incredible neighborhood and incredible homes with incredible hydronic systems, you know, 18-inch walls. And that's different than homes you find in like Northern Liberties and, you know, Fishtown. And then you go to the greater Northeast, is different than what Mayfair was. You know, Mayfair still had radiators and things, and then you got, so each area has its own flavor. And, you know, in South Philly, right?
Oh yeah.
South Philly, where there's smaller row homes, and when you go in and tell somebody about ductless mini splits, a lot of times they would hate it. Oh my God, how could you offend me? Put that thing on my wall. You know, like, and then you go, well, here's what it'll give you. You know, that big monster you have in your basement, all the ductwork, all that pipe, you can take all that out. Now that's livable space that you can renovate. Those radiators where you can't put your furniture up there against the wall and all this space, you get rid of them, you put that on the wall, and you have heating and air conditioning. Instead of replacing your boiler and you get a boiler back, replace it with a mini split heat pump. Now you get heating and cooling, and you have all this space. And space is so valuable in these homes.
Yes.
It's like a magic pill, you know? And yeah, so I could go on and on about Philadelphia heating too much maybe, but the South Philly is one that sticks in my mind.
I got one for you, Mus. For realtors and investors that are listening, how can partnering with a trusted HVAC company make transactions smoother for them?
I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, you know, and I see investors that are so obsessed with, you know, cost out of their pocket in that moment, you know, and this is self-serving. So warning here, so they'll use us for service because we get out within an hour or two to fix their system. And then the system's broke and needs to be replaced. And they find a guy who does it on the side for $500 less, but he doesn't do service and he's not going to fix it. and they're like, oh, I'm saving $500, and then they replace it, and it never really works right, and tenant's not as comfortable, and then they call us back to service it, right? And after a while, we'll like say sorry. You know what? Don't, just like keep your work. And then other investors that really care about their houses that they're renovating, they really care about the tenants, or they care about the next buyer. Before, 20 years ago, people were afraid to have the conversations with customers, like, to renovate a house or do this. Now I see it that people are willing to have a conversation, at least give the option. So if you're a builder, you're an investor, you're a renovator, I say at least be willing to have the conversation. If you decide, hey, I want to go with the less expensive system, at least you did that knowingly versus, oh, I didn't know I could have done this and avoided a problem in the future. And that relationship's valuable. We have a lot of great relationships, and they don't always go with us, or they don't always take our recommendations, but at least they have that information, and they're making an informed decision of what's best for them.
And
especially for investors, I think that's important.
And our up on the roof, we call them chucks with a truck.
Yes.
Right. Anybody with a pickup truck and a ladder. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I think what they call that tail light warranty, warranty ends when you can't see the tail light anymore.
Yeah.
Because they're just doing installs, and they're just getting in and out, and they don't follow up, and they don't warranty. Yeah, you can save money, but your property's cold and it's 0 degrees outside, and no one will come out to service it, and it's only a month old. Mm-hmm. It can wear on you.
All right, looking into the future, what's next for ECI? How do you see home comfort evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think it's just a continuation of diagnostic tools and understanding what makes it, the science of what makes a system work, and how to improve it, and helping, we like to collaborate with homeowners, investors, and have those conversations. So we're going to just keep investing in knowledge and investing in us learning the best tactics out there, so we can then convey it with homeowners. We have a training room. We try to bring people in and give them a lot of education. And it costs money, but it's worth it, because now the guys are empowered to go out and have conversations. I know when we first grew, I had the knowledge, and you hire someone, they're going out and having conversations with people, and they don't have the same knowledge I have. And they couldn't help the customers the same way I could have. So now we spend a lot of money to educate ourselves, educate everybody, so then we can go out with our customers and investors and have really quality conversations. And we want to grow. We're going to keep trying to grow and keep trying to educate and spread the word. It's our mission. We want everybody in Philadelphia to be comfortable.
I got one more I want to throw out there, is because we see a lot of products, and we've gone from hot asphalt roofs to single ply roofs and a bunch of cool silicone roofs now. So these great products that come along, not so much technology for us, but maybe with some CRM there is. But what's one of the coolest things, or the coolest thing that you can point to in HVAC over your 30 years that you say, wow, that was amazing?
Variable speed and humidification. Talking about that the temperature at 7 o'clock in the morning versus 11 o'clock in the morning versus 2 o'clock in the afternoon versus 8 o'clock at night completely changes. But yet we put one system in with one size, and that's all you get.
Right.
And now the systems can vary their output, their temperature, and the flow based on the time of day and the load on the house. And it is like having a light switch with a dimmer, automatically regulating, and you're not wasting energy.
Mm-hmm.
You're not overheating a space,
right,
under cooling. So it's it can react to real-time conditions. And
that's so cool. Yeah, no doubt.
So Ron, last question to wrap up. Do you know offhand what your educational requirements are for your guys? Like, do your guys are they specialized in certain houses, units that you send out, or are they more encompassing all across all units? So how do you manage that?
Again, that's a big question with a lot.
Yeah.
That we have some guys that are, cross-trained on multiple systems, but we have some younger guys that are taught on the new technology. So we literally have to ask people, like, how old's your system and what type of system? And some people go, why are you asking? Because we have to send the right technician, right? We have right tech, right call, and our dispatchers and our CSRs, their main job is to get the right tech to the right call. So and we have listed what their education is and where they're at on that path, so we can marry that up with the right solutions and not send the wrong guy. Like there's a funny story. All right. Last year got a call. This new young guy was a really great tech. Went out to Northeast Philadelphia, Mayfair. It was an old coal converted system, and it was probably 80 years old. And this young tech looked at it and was like, oh my God, what is that? I can't work on that. And the homeowner freaked out, like, what are you doing sending a guy that can't work on this? And I was kind of laughing, and the homeowner wasn't appreciating it. But, everything he knows, that was probably the simplest system he's ever going to see. But he's never saw it. Now, didn't see it in school, and it was 80 years old. Now, if my brother went out there, he would have loved it. It's like seeing an old classic car.
It's good antique shopping.
Yeah. My brother and I was like, oh my God, this is cool. Can I come out and look at it? And the homeowner wasn't laughing. And the guy who was 24 years old and was a great top tech, but only for the new type of equipment that he was trained on. And we made a mistake sending him. And the guy was like, and it was like 10 degrees out, and he had been waiting a couple hours, and the tech finally shows up, and the tech's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because in the heat of the battle, we forgot to say, well, how old is your system? Let's send the right tech. And so that covers two of your questions there.
Yeah, good question, Matt.
No, hey, a great answer too, and I think this is a great way to end it. Really great questions, great answers, Ron. Thank you so much for being part of Ready for Real Estate. This is a podcast where we all learn. I've learned so much today from you, and hopefully our listeners will too. When they listen on wherever they get their podcasts at. But for now, I'll go around the room. I'm great. So thank you, Ron, for everything.
All right. I want to put it out there. If you ever want to come into our place and see our training and, see our operation, we'd love to host you here. If you guys ever want to
absolutely. Yeah. So just off the cuff, this is our first season. This is season 3, first season with video. And absolutely, we want a video to be part of it. I joke around that I'm going to be up on a roof with Mike eventually, and I'm scared of heights. So that's going to be comedic gold.
Me too.
But,
I
would love to be flat on the ground, seeing what you guys do too. So, but no, I appreciate that. That is awesome.
Yeah, Matt, I think we could do a cool show and tell podcast at ECI, see their operations.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Take really selfies with the old the classic heaters. Yeah.
Or even get you in to look at some.
And Mike did a great
down for you.
Yeah. All right. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you, Mus.
All right.
Thanks,
care.
Ron.
Bye.
Thanks.
I'll save you a seat. Come on now, swing on by. Bring whatever's been on your mind. Locals on tap and bottles on ice. Living on feel good standard time. My car's on the bar. You got nowhere to be if you don't come through, buddy. That's on you, 'cause the beer
And that's a wrap on this episode of Ready for Real Estate Podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Stay connected with us on social media and sign up for our Ready News for exclusive tips, market updates, and expert insights. When opportunity knocks, will you be ready? See you next time.
We turning up, got double cups, the sun's going down. With loggers, I'm a boxer, yeah, I need about 12 rounds. And I could be a sponsor.